Hello there, welcome to It's a Shaw Thing. I'm your host, Rob Shaw, here to talk a little fantasy football. Today it's Monday, so it's time to catch up on what you missed this past weekend. 3 up, 3 down in the NFL. We start off at the quarterback position. The player on the rise is Matt Schaub. He proved to be healthy with over 360 passing yards and a couple of touchdowns. Now, what was most impressive was the damage was pretty much all done in the first half when he threw for well over 200 passing yards, connecting with Andre Johnson overall for more than 190 yards. The big concern with Schaub was whether or not he was going to be healthy. The answer is yes. Even though he was limited last week when they were forced to throw Rex Grossman in there against the Jaguars, against the Seahawks, he was very much healthy and he should be in line for solid fantasy production for the remainder of the season. As far as the quarterback moving in the wrong direction, it used to be the #1 guy in all of fantasy football, Tom Brady. Last year, his season got messed up because of an injury. This year, he's got a bunch of injuries. He's nicked up, and this team just does not seem to be moving in the right direction right now. Granted, they did just get a win. But you look at his numbers, 192 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Got off to a very slow start against Carolina. Looked like at a point he was going to lose to that team. Tom Brady just not passing the ball with as much confidence as he had in the past. He's relying heavily on Wes Welker these days, not really getting much production out of Randy Moss. I'd be pretty concerned with Tom Brady right now. If you have him and Matthew Schaub or him and Brett Favre, I'd go with Favre and Schaub over him. Next up, we move to the running back position. I said he had the most favorable matchup in the NFL this weekend. Jamal Charles, running back for the Kansas City Chiefs. Good riddance, Larry Johnson. This team's very happy with Jamal Charles, and let me explain to you why. Look at his numbers this past weekend. 143 rushing yards, 38 receiving yards with a touchdown as well. Jamal Charles is putting up huge numbers. He's not going to always get those type of numbers because he's not always going to play against the Buffalo Bills, but at the same time, he should be solid for about 70 to 80 yards per week. Jamal Charles is a solid fantasy performer. Next up, a guy to get concerned with, Steven Jackson. All these injuries, now they're saying that's because of a bulging disc in his back or a herniated disc, whatever it is, that's not good news. This team's got no future for the remainder of this season, so they might want to start considering resting their franchise player, which is pretty much what they did in the entire second half this past weekend. 47 rushing yards, 6 yards receiving, which is very low for him, no touchdowns. A guy who usually has tons of fantasy value, might be closing up shop for the remainder of the season, so be wary of that. Now to the wide receivers. What a shock Brandon Marshall provided us with. 21 receptions, 200 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns, breaking NFL records. What a game it was for him on what's been a pretty disappointing season. This isn't the same guy who performed very well. Jay Cutler kind of struggled with Kyle Orton, but that was all forgiven this past weekend. This is a guy to definitely zero in on for the remainder of the season. He's got a lot to prove for that team, trying to get his numbers up so he could demand more money. Brandon Marshall, a guy you want to pay attention to as far as someone who's clearly at the wrong end of their career. Laveranues Coles, a guy I've talked about a lot throughout this season because he's been very disappointing. Last 2 games coming into this weekend at 49 combined yards. This weekend, nada, zero, zilch, nothing out of Laveranues Coles. Never rely on him again. Put him out on the free agent waiver wire. Look for someone else to put in there. Well, that's all for now, my friends. Tomorrow we'll get you caught up with all the news and notes in the NFL. I'm Rob Shaw, signing out.